Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to continue on finishing my little rose so that I can get this piece into my journal. We have our new prompt, which is trim. So yeah, got a few trims. They're very based on Indian trims that you would put on sari silk to make Indian clothes. So I'll have to have a rummage through them at some point and see what would suit. I just don't know if they'll suit this style of journal. This is very, I don't know, what's the word? Very, I don't know, neutral, where these trims are what I'd call quite bright and, you know, sparkly. I'd say there'll be something in there for Honey Bear's dress, something in the blue tones or grey blues. I know I've got one from a spotlight trim that I've had for a while. Where is it? This one. That one there. That's got potential for Honey Bear's dress. At least it's got the tones that she is. But I promised myself I'd get this finished and don't focus on trims yet. Like, can't advance until we have finished what we're meant to be doing for the last pump. See, I've had 2 weeks and I still am mucking around with this one. Oh my goodness. Let's get some beads into the center of this little rose. So I've got a little gap there. It's technically 2 sections, but I'll just start with a few little beads and then maybe some French knots. We'll see how these beads look. And then the petals on the outside, I'm going to go through those little lacy bits that have been following this piece around and see if I can create 2 petals out of these pieces. So they're sort of in line with the roses below. And then I believe there's one more little rose to the side. So it's Friday for me, so you'll be watching this Saturday morning. Today we're getting 35-degree temperatures. There's been a heat wave slowly making its way up to Queensland from the south. And of course, as it gets higher and higher up towards us and, you know, moving further north, it just gets hotter and hotter. So I hope we don't hit the 40s. I don't think we will, but you just don't know. And what was odd this morning, it was so cool. It's been cool for the last few days. It's hard to believe that this is actually going to happen. But you could sort of sense it yesterday. It didn't take long to get quite hot outside when you go out for, 10 minutes. But today's going to really crank up another notch. And what was odd is there was fog everywhere this morning. So there's a lot of moisture around in the atmosphere, not enough to cause rain, but was certainly enough to get the fog going. I just feel like that little extra space there needs something else. Let's see if maybe a different coloured. Oops. Oh, goodness me, I've got a sniffly nose. Why is that? What horrendous disease have I now got? Or is it just a sniffly nose? Oh, dear. I'll tell you what, don't go near Google when you're trying to work out what your symptoms are. Just go to your doctor. There's a wise piece of advice for the day. Let's see what we've got in the way of pretty. I'm thinking just a couple. Just a little itty bitty something. I've had a few people ask over the last few weeks for a bit of a tutorial on how I make my journals. The ones with the open spines or tab spines. There are, you know, videos in amongst all my videos that show this, but it's not probably the easiest thing to find, and even I wouldn't be able to find them for you. So I'm thinking next week I'll do a couple videos and we'll prep a little journal ready to take in some slow stitch or some embroidery pieces. And I'm wondering, I've been thinking about a theme, yeah, because I can't just make it, you got to do something in it. I've been thinking about my dear friend Jennifer and her little snippet videos that she's doing. And of course, a lot of us have her books. And I was wondering to myself, if I make the journal but make it a snippety size, and we can do some stitching along with Jennifer and then pop them in the little journal. So that's what I'm thinking. And Jennifer's got this mantra that says, you know, 15 minutes a day, just to get herself, you know, in the zone of enjoying stitching, and then I guess switching off the rest of the world, which is what it would be for me, and getting her hands warmed up to work. She does 15 minutes worth of, you know, a snippet stitch, so to speak. So, yeah, I'm wondering about actually creating a little journal for myself where it's literally 15 minutes of stitching, see how the pieces evolve, and then we've got a home for them. So I'm very much having somewhere to put my embroidery. I don't like it sort of hanging around if it's just a little piece. It's different if it's a big wall hanging. Like that. Yeah, it's different if it's a wall hanging because it's sort of decorating your room and, you know, you're enjoying it being around. I'm going to use this little net here and try and line up the top of that net with the top of that. Let me zoom in. See, I've got this curved line here. I'm going to try and disguise the fact that all that's there and use that net to disguise the line printed on the fabric. Yeah, so that's the plan. A snippet journal for your little 15-minute a day snippets that you may be all doing out there. Well, I think a lot of you are doing it actually. I've had quite a few comment. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head over to Jennifer Clouston's channel and have a look at her little short videos, little embroidery videos. And it's just pick up a needle and thread and go for it. The other thing I've started, which is probably remiss of me and I should have been doing for ages, is an orts jar. So a collection of threads that are still long enough to do something with. For example, I think there's one here. See that there? That is definitely long enough to use, but they tend to just get, you know, lost, or I know I'm pretty picky on don't cut it unless you know you're going to use it, where Jennifer made a comment that she'll often cut a piece of thread and then decide that it's not suitable for whatever she is doing, and she's got this jar that she puts all those threads in. Now, I've seen a lot of the embroiderers out there have it. I know Jessie Chorley and Anne Brooks, they all seem to have these orts these collections of usable threads that, you know, are very valuable and you just don't want to throw them out. So they're in a jar or a container. Now, I've never done that. So I've also started an orts jar. I have 3 threads in there, 4 threads. There you go. So I thought maybe my snippet journal, snippets of stitching, is that what we're going to call it? I don't know. Snippets of Jennifer. That doesn't sound real good. I think it'll be snippets of something. Snippet journal. Snippets of stitching journal. Doesn't matter. We don't need a name. Do we need a name? So I'm going to carry on with all my projects like I usually do and have a good think about my orts and maybe have a little collection of orts, and then the orts get used where possible, you know, in the journal. So stay tuned. I'll probably start filming that this weekend. So, you know, I'm sitting around the house watching Pepper feed her puppies and feed Pepper, toilet Pepper. Everything's around Pepper. She was a bit naughty this morning. She was sound asleep when I got down to her, and she was like, oh wow, time to get up. And all her babies were asleep. So I took food with me, some meat, you know, raw food, and then she'd already cleaned up all of her bickies through the night, so I replenished those as well. And then let her out to the backyard before Bandit came on the scene, because he was still in his bed, and let her have a good run around, and yeah, she come back in. And then I started the process of, you know, getting her back into her area and closing all the gates. You know, I've got like kitty safe gates over the door frames so that she can't get out, roam around. And, oh, she didn't like that. As soon as I left the area, there was this woof woof going on. And she wanted back out. And I'm like, oh, Pepper, you've already done all your... Just looking for that big doily here. This one. I was thinking I might bring a little bit of this tone in. Yeah, she wanted out. Do or die, she wanted out. And I was like, oh, goodness me, dog, haven't you had enough? So I took her out the front yard, thought maybe a change of scenery, go to the front. So she trotted around the front and she went to the toilet again and then straight back in. And I thought, oh, good, she's going back to her babies. But no, she was standing at the door that goes to the backyard. So it's a laundry. So there's an internal door and an external door. The external door goes outside to the grass. And the internal door, of course, comes back through the house, of which she can then go to the front. Yeah, that's going to work. Yeah, so she wasn't ready to be in with the puppies yet. So by then, Bandit's out. So he's romping around the backyard, sniffing and goosing around. And I thought, righto, you're going out with Bandit. So out she goes. Well, they ran around like idiots. She was a bit snippy at him. If he got a bit rough or he went over to his biscuits and she was like, no, I want them, she'd pinch his biscuits, which is fine. He can get some more. I'd rather know that she's eating. And, yeah, she'd give him a bit of a rousing and then go, come on, let's run. And then she'd give him another rousing. No, let's run. Like, talk about mixed messages, the poor fellow. So, yeah, so then they're down the back of the block and she's doing her final toilets. I'd say that's what it was all about. She hadn't yet got to the stage for her number 2s. So, yeah, she just wanted more time to sort of have a run, stretch her legs and get ready for the toilet. And then straight inside. That was it. She was ready to go back to her babies. They're amazing. You just got to watch watch, listen, observe, and get used to it all. But yeah, no, it's all good. But she is definitely a bit snippy towards him. But he's such a doofus, like, it's just big puppy, you know. So she tolerates his behaviour, but really he's a nuisance. So I think that's half of it. But, you know, we've also got a very protective mama. So if he shows any signs of getting too close to anything, like, I got to make sure he hangs back with me before, as she heads back to the laundry door. Otherwise she gets a little skittish that he's going to come closer. So I sort of call him back and we stand, you know, 6 meters away and let her decide whether she's going in or not. But he's good. He just looks at me and goes, "Mum, she is scary. She's a little bit stressy." I'm sure that's what he's thinking. He was howling last night. Oh, I tell you. As soon as he went into his cage, just sitting there sounding the howl. I know yesterday when they had a brief encounter, he tried to actually mount her. So I would say he is sensing all of her hormones, and of course she's still got a discharge from having the baby. So she's got that nice smell that Bandit would be responding to. So my guess is he is smelling her, and that's what the howling's about. He's thinking she's on heat. Or there's a dog around that is on heat. Because I was reading 5 kilometres is what Bandit's nose will pick up a dog on heat. Isn't that incredible? So yeah, he was a little bit howly last night. So I ended up getting him inside for a bit of one-on-one cuddle time. And oh, he's just a doofus. He's so big and he's so bouncy. He's just needs to take a chill pill. I'm wondering if I can make that. And I like the shape of it, but I don't really want to destroy that little piece. Stick to these. I think I need something a bit solid, but not much of it. I might try this little bit here, because it gets quite narrow, and I should be able to just need a slither. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Gives us that shape of a rose. So like usual, it's a circus here. I'm going to try and get out today. I feel like I've been at home all week for 2-3 weeks, which I haven't gone anywhere, and I really feel like I need to get out and see what people look like. Oh, thank goodness I got you guys to talk to. Hubby's been out doing chores and delivering stock and having a whoop of a time with all the staff, and you know, and I'm feeling a little bit cabin fever, I think is what they call it. So the stores are getting to the point where they're getting busy, and they're going to need to start opening up more registers. Won't be just yet, but it's very close. So yesterday I spent a bit of time working out the different floats for them. You know, you give the registers a float to kick off their day. So I did that yesterday, got a little bit of a float organised for them, but I need to go to the bank and actually buy, you know, a heap of change to actually finish them. So I'm going to do that today. I'm going to go down to my local shopping centre and purchase some change, pop it into the little bags, and then I'll go for a little drive and visit the stores, see how they're going, and give them their floats so that when it starts getting busier, they're ready to go. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We've had a lot of stock arrive too, so I really want to get down to, well, Slacks Creek's my closest store, and have a look at the new stock. There's a company in Australia that brings in the most beautiful ribbon. Oh, it's really wide. It is just beautiful. And this year they increased their range. So we're very excited because it's beautiful for making bows and things for our Christmas trees and wreaths, swags, things like that. So I'm just itching to get down to the store and actually have a good look at it and make sure it's all as I remember seeing it back in February. My manager, Chels, she is very excited. She's able now to finish the last of her Christmas trees off. She's been waiting on this ribbon, and they also had some really gorgeous Christmas decorations, so she's been itching to get her hands on those. So yeah, I'm going to go for a drive today. I've also managed to secure a embroidery hoop. I've paid for it. I'm just now organising the collection of it. Thank you, Anita. Anita's one of my subscribers that we've sort of just got chatting a lot. She's a local girl, and she's offered to pick it up. It's a little distance from me, so she's going to pick it up. Isn't she a sweetheart? You are a gem. And she's going to drop it at our Virginia store for me. So I will have a hoop soon. It's one that stands on the floor. Jennifer recommended a particular brand, and they don't make them anymore, but there's a lot out there in the secondhand market. So once I knew what I was looking for, I could grab it. So I hope I enjoy using it. I'm just not sure. It's finding the right location, I guess, for it too. It's somewhere where I can see with plenty of light and comfortable chair. So yeah, it'll be fun to have a new toy to play with. Might use it for my snippets. So there's my rose. She did get a little bit bigger than the picture, but that's okay. It's a big rosebud. Now let's have a look at the final little rose. How are we going for time? Plenty of time. Let's pop this out of the hoop. Oh yeah. I don't know if I want to put that back into the hoop. I mightn't, because I don't think I'll be doing weaving, will I? Will I not? The fabric I used there would be good in there to define it, but I don't think I can easily see it, so we might just use a bit of thread and we'll stitch that in. Excuse me. Might actually stitch that whole flower, because if I lace that up, I think it will feel like it's crashing into this one. I think it needs to be all stitched. Now we'll go dark in the center. We might put some beads through there. That'd be light, so we might use that one for the top. Let's do just a few stitches to get my space ready for me to come back and fill it in. So just jump up a little bit with each stitch and then fill the gaps in. Probably would be easier in the hoop, but I'm so used to sewing without a hoop that I don't seem to have a problem with my tension. That it's one of the benefits of having a hoop is if your work's really puckering on you, you might have a heavy hand. Grandma used to always say that with crocheting. Loosen your hand up. You're very heavy-handed, so therefore your threads are pulling your crocheting and your tension's a little bit out. But I think I've got a not too bad of a hand when it comes to slow stitch. I don't seem to get that puckering. I think a lot of it too is having a fabric underneath your work. It just makes it chunkier and you're not got this lightweight fabric that you're stitching and it's pulling it into a puckery mess. So I've just banded out that section. I could even continue with that colour up there and change the direction of it. But I think I'll change the colour. It's the inside of the petal. What did you think of the rose that I put at the end of yesterday's video? The origami rose. Wasn't it beautiful? I forgot to put a picture of the grevillea flowers. For those of you who don't know what a grevillea is, you've probably Googled it anyway. Yeah, I forgot to put a picture of that. So sorry about that, guys. I remembered the rose. Okay. Just working my way back now down. Just filling in the gaps. So yeah, back to the snippet journal, the snippet stitched stitch snippets, to come up with a word. Jennifer, I'm sure you could come up with a suggestion. Snippets of stitch, stitched snippets. Gosh, and I've even got a puppy called Snippet. I got sewing on the brain. So the journal, what I'm thinking of using is a Reader's Digest. I was trying to think of a book that is a decent size, not too big, and everyone has access to. Those things are everywhere. My goodness, I hate to think how many of those books were printed in the day. And I know I've got a few kicking around here that I was using them to make, you know, journals. So I'm going to use a Reader's Digest journal. I'm going to take you from start to finish on how to prepare the book ready to take in embroidery or slow stitch pieces. You could even do a Japanese style boro stitching one. That's been on my radar for a while too, just to have somewhere where I can just pick up some of those types of fabrics, lay some stitches down, some mark making, and then have a little spot to pop it in. You could do like a whole series of little, you know, where you explore a different stitching technique. It sort of has come to my mind a bit because of the vintage sewing techniques that Susanna's been working through with us. I have a journal dedicated to that. It's actually just nearby here. So I'm going to do a similar sort of journal. I've wanted to do it for a few weeks. You guys are so patient with me. I do appreciate it. There we go. So that's that stitched in. Now the question is, do we go up the top here in the same colour? I'm thinking not. Is that classed as an aut? It's a bit short. I don't think so. A girl's got to have some restraint. I'll be keeping every bit. Let's get a little bit of this soft. I don't know what this one's all about. It's so soft and delicate. It feels like it's got like merino. That's why it wouldn't come out. Merino wool in it. It's just so beautiful. Okay. So there's a heads up on supplies. Get yourself a Reader's Digest. Reader's Digest book, and that way our measurements, I can give you some more detail on measurements, so then you know, you're set to jet. It's really simple. Like when you watch it, you'll be like, oh, is that all she does? I like the tab spine treatment, because I can then see past the spinal section and see the pages within. And then when those pages have bits and bobs all dangling off of them, you know, embellished pages, it just is beautiful. Makes it very tactile feeling. Okay, so let's get some foundation. See, I'm not doing foundation stitches. I'm just stitching, and so you can see how it's sloping. That's all right if you want the slope to be that way, but if you don't, you really need to get your angles set up with those few stitches so that when you come back and fill it in, you don't have to think too hard, because you've already got the shape or the nap, like carpet. You got the nap of the petal worked out, especially if you want to fan something. So I'm just going to whip around this side. And then fill that in. Yeah, I'm pleased I didn't go with the whole collage thing on this little flower. I think it would have just looked like a big lacy blob. Okay. I need to pick up my Stitch the Seasons spring piece again too. I had 4 or 5 episodes pre-filmed because I couldn't put it down. I just couldn't put it down. So I just kept stitching and film another hour, because I'm doing it pretty much live with you. I'm not doing much homework on it because, you know, there's just so much stitching to do anyway. No use doing all the homework. I won't make it till the end of the season. So I believe next Friday is the last one I have pre-recorded. So I also need to pick that piece up, and I'm really looking forward to it because it'll feel fresh and new. So much stitching to do. It's great. I felt for Susanna. I'm thinking of you, Susanna. I think Susanna's a little bit burnt out. She's been so busy prepping things for her stall, her Etsy site and her website, packs of fabric, and then she had all those threads, and she's been so busy. And when you sell fabrics, you know, you've got to wash them, cut them, you got to think about the composition of the pack. It takes hours and hours. It just is so much work. And yeah, she felt a little bit flat, I think. So she had a day of rest. She probably needs a couple days of rest. And she was really missing stitching, bless her. She's like doing all this mundane work, especially once you've worked out how your packs are going to look. You've really just then got to pack your packs. I don't know how you do it, Rachel. I can see why you get the girls to help you, because, yeah, it's hard work. I remember doing a pack, I think it was last year. I did a Christmas journal pack. So it was all the bits and pieces to put in the pack. And what colour do I do there? Maybe this one. Or do I go darker? That's the same one I just did, so that's no good. I'll do this dark one in the centre and see where it goes. Now, I did this Christmas pack, so it had close to 100 elements in it, from a cover to the pages to all the bits and pieces that you would need to decorate. Oh, and it took me weeks, absolute weeks. And I think I made 30 or 35 of them, something like that. And they sold so quickly. And I was like, yay. And also, oh my goodness. And I was getting requests for more. I was like, oh, I just can't do it. So I really feel for the girls who put packs together for their shops. Yeah, it's so much work. I might make this, how am I going to do the angle on this one? We'll go up and we'll do a split back stitch to sort of still have that nice soft look, but it should look flatter in there where these petals on the outside look quite plump. Yeah, so I think Susanna was exhausted. Plus she'd come back from a week with me and I dragged her all over the countryside. So the poor girl, she's had a week with me. She's got straight back into packing her threads and some additional fabric packs. Like, her store's fully stocked at the moment, guys. So if you want to have a little look, head over to Vintage Blend Studio and have a little rummage through her fabrics, her fabric packs. I haven't had a chance to get over in there and have a little sneaky look. My threads arrived that I got from her. I'm not sure how many threads are left now. Gosh, she had thousands of them and they've all just gone whoosh, gone. But she's back stitching. She seems a lot happier within herself. I think you just need sleep sometimes, don't you? You get so worn out, and it's probably not even the physical thing. It's mentally worn out, and you seriously just need to stop. I have days like that where I just don't want to pick up a needle and thread. I'm just sitting there staring aimlessly at the TV. I'm always doing something. You know, when I'm watching TV, I'm always doing something. I listen to TV, I don't watch TV, unless it's a show, of course, that I'm absolutely enthralled with, which lately is not much. Bandit just walked past the window and looked at me to say, Mum, where's Pepper? Yeah, that's good. I've just changed the angle of these outer stitches to be a little bit more curving in, trying to make this piece look concave. It should be fine with that dark colour in there. There we go. And then, oh, now there's a good ort, a collection of things. There we go, another one. Oh, where's my jar? I was cleaning out one of my cupboards in the process of packing up my house, and I come across, I don't know if you're familiar with Moccona coffee. They have those fantastic jars with the little seal and you push down on the top. Brilliant. Well, I got to a point where I was keeping every bloomin' Moccona jar that I come across, which is just ridiculous. So a lot of them I gifted to a friend who makes jam. So I did clean out, you know, they'd gone to a new home. And I thought, this is odd. Here's a little Moccona jar. And I picked it up and it's got a fish on it. Now, let's roll back to the 1980s. And remember when we could buy this product? I believe it's still around. It's like a stained glass treatment. And it would etch your glass and you could buy it in a little bottle. With this this very small little craft shop that I used to work at when I was probably 20, 22. She used to sell it, and there was all sorts of colours, and you could actually put this product down that looked like lead, strips of lead, and then paint and make a stained glass window. Well, there was a white frosty one that you could paint onto glass and it would look etched, and we were using stencils and popping them onto glass bottles and then painting it, and it would etch the shape. So this little Moccona coffee jar has a fish etched on the side of it, like you would, of all things, a fish. So I was looking at it thinking, oh, I must have kept you back from the jam lady because you got a fish on you. And I was thinking about the Jennifer's Orts and the snippet book and, you know, sort of packing and, you know, like you do, your mind's off when you're doing something mindless. So this little Moccona jar's just sat on the counter, and I end up washing it and it's dried, and now it's beside my chair, this little jar with this fish on it with my 3 threads in it, 5 threads. I promise you I won't be counting the threads. So that's how my Ort jar came to be, my fish jar. There's one in there that I kept too that the top has a Santa on it. Someone gave us chocolates in it, I think. It's got a little white top with this little Santa standing on it. That was the other one that I found in the cupboard. So I might need 2 jars, one at my desk and one by my chair, so that I'm not, you know, walking through the house carrying my threads of Orts. Oh gosh, the things we do. My husband's just going to be like, what are you doing there now? Keeping my Orts. I can see his face. So we're just coming up to the last, there we go. So it took an hour to finish the 2 roses. I just want to get my beads again and run some little beads around. I do want to put some beads in these too, just to get that continuity. And then I'm going to leave the piece at that. I'm not going to do anything to this print, because remember, our journal is all about a salesman going around haberdashery stores and selling his wares to shops in the 1800s, 1700s. So we're trying to keep it old and like we've found it at a market and we're sort of looking into it thinking, oh, look, he was peddling his wares. So I'm going to leave all of this print showing so that you could show the shopkeep that that's where you would crochet into there. Oh, I've just had an idea. Would you class crocheted edges on these doilies as trims? Because remember when we were planning this project, I had some of Grandma's crocheting books that had patterns to go on the doilies. Where's the doily? Where's the doily? I don't think I've got one handy. There's a sort of, there's an example. So this here, there's the doily, which I've cut off, and someone has crocheted this trim to the side of it. Right through here. I wonder, what if we were to do a page with all of the trims so I can get my crocheting hook out again? That would be a little bit exciting, wouldn't it? Let's get now. I might get a new piece of thread, a little bit longer. And let's get some little beads into the center of. So start down the bottom here. A couple stitches. I've had a couple people ask about Nemo thread, which is a thread you can use for putting beads onto your work. I do have Nemo thread. I didn't really know it existed till recently when I got given some at a retreat and had a bit of a play with it. It's a silk product. They also use it to create flies in fly fishing. So, and then I went to Jennifer's class and all the girls had lots of colours of Nemo thread. So it was like all wound onto a little bobbin. So after Googling it, you can easily buy it. That's it there. So it comes in all sorts of colours. That's on a little paper cardboard reel. And you can use it to stitch your beads on. And I've had a few people, say, why don't you use it? Well, probably the main reason is I don't feel like my work really warrants the stitching of it because my work isn't being rubbed or, if you were making a bag with beads on it, you'd have to use Nemo thread because your arm or, it's being roughed up. But when it's just a piece like this going into a journal and, the page closes and that's it, you might look at it a couple times. I sort of haven't really gone down the whole rabbit hole of Nemo thread. I'm just using, sewing machine thread. But yeah, if I was doing something that was, going to get just concentrating here, going to get, roughed up, like for example, using it on a wedding dress or something like that. Definitely. So just doing 2 stitches through everything. I might leave it at that and I might put some pistol stitches next to it. How are we going for time? Fine. Let's get a little bit of this. No, I might go thinner. That's a number 8. Let's drop down to a number 12. It's just a little bit finer. I I don't want it to look too chunky. Oops. So let's grab a piece of that. This will give us an ought for sure. It's probably not the best needle because I want to bring a knot off the end of it. So let's look for that one, yeah. Milliner's needles are good for knots. Okay, close the beads, girl. So let's bring our needle up there and let's do a little pistol stitch. Like little stamens. Just a little extra detail. And I'll do that to all of the flower centers, just as that little extra. Just make them look more interesting. There we go. Just a little something. While I've got this thread in my hand, we might dodge over to one of those other flowers. Like here. And do just some knots, I'm thinking. I might do a French knot. No, I'll do a colonial. I don't want it too chunky. Just a few little just sort of softens the lines too of your petals. Might slope them down, follow the line so they're just peeking out of the top of that pale petal. So the actual stamens, oh come on girl, pick it up. The stamens, I'm rushing now because I'm trying to get as much as I can done in the last few minutes. The stamens are actually in the flower itself, and all you can see is the little tops peeking out of the rose. We'll leave it at that. You can really play with the center of flowers. Roses are a little bit trickier because there's not a lot of space there, because they're such a dense flower. This one here, I think I could get away with more of a stamen. Let's have a few. I hope I'm still on camera. I'm rushing here, so I possibly have pulled away from the camera shot there, so I do apologise. You know me, as professional as it comes. If any of you out there are considering having a go at making videos for YouTube, I absolutely encourage you to do it. Like, have a go. Oh goodness, Bandit. See, Bandit wants to be on YouTube. He wants his own channel. Absolutely have a go, guys, because it's a lot of fun. You're stitching anyway, just throw the camera on. If you're wondering about all the apparatuses to use or whatever, keep it simple. Use what you've got and just Google the question, how do I? And you'll be surprised at how many young kids out there have made videos on how to do everything that we need to know to set it up. Even down to how do I set up a YouTube channel? How do I hold a camera or an iPad for filming? Like, don't be afraid to sort of spend a bit of time. I'm going to put a few little beads in there as well. I do want a little bit more of this cotton just to finish this off. So yeah, even if it's just to show us what you've been doing. You know, you don't have to do, you know, actual stitching. You'll find you will, but you'll go from just giving us an update on your work to, before you know it, you'll be sitting and stitching. Just happens. That one, the knot pulled down into the work, so it disappeared on me. Oh, look, you're not even on camera, Corrine. Goodness sakes. Oh, you poor things. You're probably all switched off and gone elsewhere. I don't blame you. Just going to try and get some of these stamens up past the line of the flower. Probably not that far, girl. Just to give it a little bit more. Oh, lost my thread. I do apologise if I've been off camera. But don't let me put you off filming. Can be tricky, but whatever. Everyone understands. We didn't all go to school to study these things. We're just kids at home doing what we love and turning a camera on to share it with fellow kids doing what they love. There we go. There's some little stamens in there. I feel like I need one more. Just going to go over the top with these stamens now. Why not? Could even be brave and pick a different colour. Have some pink ones in amongst it. And some little beads. I got an ort sitting here. Should I use that? Oh no, I've just used an ort. Now I've only got 3. I had 4. For those of you out there who have ort jars with thousands of threads in it, you'll be thinking, that girl is a crazy girl. Thinking she's going to count her orts. Yeah, I'll put just a couple in. What the hang. Slightly thicker thread. It's an 8, so it's giving me a completely different look. It's gorgeous. Come on, round we go. I feel like I'm all fingers. Pull that knot nice and tight. There we go. All right, let's let's take my little ort and revisit some of these other flowers. We're going to go over the hour. I can just see it. What the hang? Who cares? Let's do a couple in here just for the entertainment value for myself. So I'm not sure what my next video is going to be. Actually, I know it'll be nothing. I'm not going to put videos up on Sundays for a while. I feel like I need a little bit more time to do all my to-dos in my real world. And I thought, if I just don't put a Sunday up, that's only one video that you're missing, and it gives me a bit of a chance to stay in front of at least getting 6 videos up for you. If you see a Sunday video, well then you can say, oh, Corrine's on top of her to-do lists and she's stitching and has plenty to tell us, show us, etc. Monday is going to be a puppy update video. So, and then we've got, you know, the rest of the week to do all of our little projects. So next week we'll be working on trim, the new prompt. I know what I'm going to do with that, but I'll probably do this the following week, and that's where I do a little bit of crocheting. What we'll do next week, which I'll film, oh, I wonder if I can get one more. I'll film that straight after this, actually, while I'm got a chance. Hubby's still asleep, so I've got at least another hour I can, oh, that's a bit small, is Honey Bear's dress. And we'll visit the trims. Oh, I think it's too small. Can I do it? Like, stop being so scroungy, girl. Gosh. Why? No, look, stop. Enough. So the next video after the puppies will be Honey Bear. And we'll have a look at the trims, work out what we can do to her little dress. Because Honey Bear would love to have some little trims. I'm sure she's been collecting trims off the sewing room floor and has them stashed in her little pockets. So we'll do Honey Bear next, then yeah, we'll see how the week rolls. And hopefully in there we can start the journal series as well. There you go. There's my little piece all stitched. Let me bring it up. We've gone over the hour, but that's okay. Let's put our threads carefully in a little pile. Scraps away. Oops, not in that bucket. Try and be organised, girl. They go into the random scrap bucket. Put the little hoop away. Keep my Ort. I'll put my Ort in my pin cushion. All right, let's get into this journal. Let's go up a little bit so you can see it. All right. I think it was connected to that one. There's a signature ready to go. So that's ready just to stitch in. We've got our signature on the front inside panel. That was all the lace samples. Different ways to present that. So let's just close that so it doesn't flip-flop around because it's attached to the journal. Now this journal was a challenge because I did not want to cover this beautiful spine. So I'm making it sit independently just on the back. So it's just sort of got its own spine out here and it's just stacking up nicely on the back cover to be its support. That way this just encloses it and we can still see the spine. And they will be tabs also, which is what we'll do in the... oh yeah, see, I kept some crocheted edges that I found. This came off of a doily of Grandma's that was very ripped and spoilt, but I kept her work. This was in her glory box that I inherited. So that was obviously the start of something. So, yeah. Oh, the linen. That's right. This tag was on here. And I took it off because I didn't want to damage it. So let's get that stitched back on. We're going over the hour big time, guys. So let's find the holes. There's one, got it, and two. That's how it was attached. Oh, now I've got spreads everywhere. Oh no, I don't. It just looks like I do because, oh my goodness me. So what happens when you rush? Take your time, you're stitching paper. You don't want to rip it. There we go. Now they just knotted it. That's all we need. Just a knot. There we go. So that's the original tag back in place. So there's the number that you would use to order that particular print. So that's perfect for this type of journal. There's our spare pages. We don't need those at the moment. That's what I'm using as a tab. So we have one already, and these two are the next. So that would go on the back of there. But what I'm missing is the page that would go in between to hold them all, which we'll need to address in the next video because we've just run out of time. So there is a piece of calico. You see that there? That piece goes right through, and then I put my work on it, and then I got a second one, laid it on the back, and then put the new pieces on top, and that creates this. Actually, there's only one. Yeah, there's only one. I've used two in the past, but because I didn't know how much thickness was going to be in this journal, just to keep the thickness out, I just used the one piece of calico, and they're just attached. So that's easy. We can go through all that when we do the spine. So there'll be a piece attached here, and then a piece of embroidery, then this, and then these two will be linked together as well in the same way, and you will have your examples. That looks good with that. So, and these are just blanks ready to have future prompts on them, like trims. So we'll come back to this journal and do a little bit more work on it. And these are some pieces that I'm going to use for the tabs. And these tabs bury themselves within the work to create these little spines, which will also embellish. But that's another job, another day. All right, guys. When we do the trims in the journal, we'll do a little bit more prepping to sort of move us along with plenty of spine pieces and pages and, you know, all of that. Okay, we might even work out exactly how many prompts are going to be coming along so that we've got everything ready to go. So that'll, another video, another day. Okay, all right, guys, look after yourselves and have a lovely day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.